What up guys, SuperMetal983 here to bring us another album review, and this time I've got one of my most anticipated EPs of 2019 to review for you, and I can safely say that this is in the run to be one of my not only one of my favourite EPs of 2019, but one of my favourite releases of 2019, and this is an absolute barbaric assault, I can tell you that. But I'm going to be reviewing the new Annotations of an Autopsy EP entitled World of Sludge. This is a self-released EP. Now, if you're not too familiar with Annotations of an Autopsy, they are a UK-based slam and brutal deathcore sort of band, and they've been going around for quite a few years, starting off with their debut EP entitled Welcome to Sludge City, which everyone by now in brutal deathcore or brutal death metal even has probably heard of that EP. It's an absolute classic, especially in the UK side of brutal, you know, deathcore, death metal and stuff like that. It's an absolute classic. If you haven't heard it, make sure you check it out. It is absolutely fantastic, barbaric and just filthy sounding release. And if you're a fan of the likes of Waking the Cadaver or Ingested, for example, you'll find yourself right at home with that EP. But then fast forward a little bit and you've got their debut album, which came out in, I believe, 2008, entitled Before the Throne of Infection, which was around the same time I got introduced to the band, because I saw them back in, I believe it was 2009, if I'm not mistaken, on the Dominate tour with Trigger the Bloodshed and Wyattxhim, and a couple of local bands were on that bill as well. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, it was my first, like, extreme metal sort of show, and I had an absolute blast, and I fell in love with the three bands that I mentioned: Annotations, Trigger the Bloodshed, and Wyattxhim. And unfortunately, to this day, Annotations are the only one from that circle that really exists. I think Trigger the Bloodshed has just vanished off the face of the earth, and Wyattxhim sadly called it a day. I can't remember, I think it was 2010 or 2011 they called it quits. But anyway, but yeah, that album, Before the Throne of Infection, from 2009, when I picked it up in HMV, of all places, I fell in love with that album. It's still one of my favourites in the whole slam, brutal, deathcore sort of world. It's absolutely fantastic. If you haven't heard it, make sure you do so. It's an incredible, incredible release. But then you fast forward to 2010, where they decided to change up the motor, you could say, and do a straight up death metal record, which is entitled Reign of Darkness. Now, if you want to know more of my opinion on that album, check out a Super Metal recommendations, which are 10 out of 10 albums, which I'll link also down below, because I think that is, in my opinion, one of the best death metal records to come out of the UK and in general. It's an absolute banger. It's just fast, relentless, intense, and just destructive, if you ask me. So if you want some killer death metal, definitely check out Reign of Darkness. It's an absolutely fantastic album. But then they decided to change up the style yet again in 2012, I think it was. 2011, with their EP entitled Dark Days. Now, this is where the band kind of lost a few fans, you could say, and decided to change up the ship completely and go for a more, as far as I can dwell it down to, I would say it's more of a kind of beat down deathcore sort of release. It's very influenced from the likes of hardcore and stuff like that to create in my personal opinion, I still think it's an absolute banger of a release. It's still one of my favourites. I honestly think I prefer it to the Welcome to Sludge City EP. I know people may like, oh no, you said that, but honestly, I absolutely love that EP. I listen to it quite a bit, and it's still an intense release, if you ask me. But it was a far cry from the likes of Reign of Darkness, Before the Throne of Infection, or Welcome to Sludge City. You know, it was completely different direction, and they lost a lot of fans and stuff like that. But in all honesty, they still stuck a fan with me. But then I can't remember what year it was that they decided to call it quits. But in 2018, they announced that they were coming back and they were playing Fall in the Brawl. And I was really stoked out for that show. And I recorded the set. Make sure you check out that as well. Link down below. And I absolutely adored it, especially of that set where they played a new song, which is the title track from this new EP entitled World of Sludge. And I was like, yeah, they're going back to the old style. And I was really loving that song, listening to it quite a lot on repeat on that video. That's probably why it's got the amount of views as it has, but what can you do anyway? But then, not too long after that, they dropped the recorded version of that single, World of Sludge, on Slam Worldwide, and I've done a review also for that. And if you haven't heard that single, make sure you do so. It is an absolute barbaric and devastating song. It's a throwback to the old style, that kind of like Waking the Cadaver, Ingested, sort of slamming deathcore sort of movement that they were known for back in the day with their debut album and their debut EP. So they were going back to the old style a little bit. So I was really looking forward to see what they could present with this new EP. And then, not too long ago, they dropped a new single called, which is the second track on this EP, called Too Weak to Fuck With Me. And that video in its own is quite disturbing and quite vulgar, if you ask me. But that's not just in a case of the video. I think the music in itself speaks for that as well, because I feel like it just shows that Annotations are not here to like play games. They're not here to mess around. They are here to bring the violence and bring the sludge once again, if you ask me. Like, they're here to wreak havoc and just create utter devastation in their wake and bring the vulgarness with it. And quite frankly, that song just made us all that more excited for this release. And then I've been speaking to their drummer recently, and I saw him at the Sheffield show, and we've been talking about stuff here and there, and then he sent me the promo for this EP so I could review it on my channel. So I just want to say thanks to the drummer for sending us this. I believe it's Neil, if I'm not mistaken, for sending us the promo. I was really excited to hear it, and I've been listening to it quite a lot recently, and I thought, you know what, it's time to do a review. So yeah, it's 5 tracks and runs around 19.5 minutes in length, so it's a pretty short EP, and it's a short release just to say that Annotations are back. But make no mistake about it, that I've just said at the start of this video that this could be one of my favourite one of my favourite releases, not just favourite EP, but one of my favourite releases of 2019. I mean, this is such an absolute brutal assault on your senses, and this is what I feel a lot of Annotations fans wanted, especially from the moment they heard Dark Days. No, I want to go back to the old style. Well, you can rekindle your love a little bit with this EP, because this is a harken back to the old style, that really filthy, vulgar sounding, brutal deathcore that we know Annotations for. Those vicious slams that kind of, they're not really like what you would expect of like pure slams like you would hear from like the likes of Devourment, for example. They've got a bit of a kind of a beatdown sort of vibe on there. I don't know if that comes off because of the production, but it really does come across that sort of way. But it is a literal beatdown when you listen to these slams. They hit you very fucking hard. Like, they don't come at you with like a little slap. This is where they come at you, crowd killing you from all angles and just beating you into the fucking ground with sheer, utter and unrelenting violence, if you ask me. Like, everything about this EP just screams out quality, if you ask me, and it's something that's made us just all that more excited for this release. And now that I've heard it, it just feels like a breath of fresh air. It's like a load of bands are coming back these days from like you could say the MySpace era. You could say like a load of bands are coming back, bringing out new releases and stuff like that. But I feel like Annotations have just gone, nah, fuck the lot of yous, and just pushed to the front of the queue and just like, we are the kings of slam, and we are here to bring sheer utter carnage along with it. And this EP definitely delivers that on all fronts. And I mean, from the moment you hear World of Sludge, which is the first track, as I said, with that noisy sort of intro, it builds you in a bit of suspense, really. It really makes you get really pumped up, and then when the guitars come in and it's setting it up for that just start, like, kind of marching, stomping, chuggy, slammy riff that you've got at the start, you know straight away that they're not here to play around. They're here to bring some utter relentless, brutal stuff here, and they do so. And throughout the entire course of this EP, it is just an all-out assault. And the tracks that we haven't heard, which you'll hear when the EP drops, are the third song, Killing the Industry, the fourth song, Stomp to Death, which is a perfect alliteration of this EP, because it does stomp you right to fucking death. And then it closes with the fifth track, Murder. Those three tracks on top of the songs that we've already heard just make it just feel like it's I kind of feel like because it's an EP, it's the perfect delivery. I think it would have been like a bit overwhelming if it was a full-length album, because, well, if it was a full-length album, it would be high up on the top albums list for me. But I'm glad it's an EP, because it is just a little taster of what you can expect for the future of Annotations of an Autopsy, because I hope that they come back with a follow-up, like an album, because if it's anything sounding like this EP, we are in for a ride here, folks. I mean, this is going to be absolutely relentless. But yeah, this EP definitely is going to sustain us until that album. But yeah, Killing the Industry is definitely, I would say, when I was speaking to Neil about this, it's definitely the stick-out song. Like, you could see oddball, but it's not really odd, if you know what I mean. It kind of has, this one kind of feels a more, along the lines of like a Reign of Darkness B-side sort of thing, but that's not a bad thing in any way, because it definitely has that kind of death metal sort of attitude. So the only way I could describe it, and Neil described it quite perfectly, it kind of has that kind of Suffocation, sort of Morbid Angel sort of vibe in there, like that really hammering sort of death metal, you know, that everyone loves. And I feel like you can echo that quite well in that song, if you ask me. And the lyrics are very aggressive and talks about the music industry and stuff like that, and how you can get fucked over and stuff like that. So if you want a good song to read into, definitely read along with that song, because it's an absolute banger, and definitely one of the strongest songs, definitely one of my favourite songs on this one, because when that comes on, it's literally just no bullshit. It's just a blaster, and it is a relentless assault, if you ask me. And then you flow into the fourth track, as I said, Stomp to Death. That one is literally the epitome of what this EP is, as I said. It's Stomp to Death. You are literally being curb stomped into the fucking ground when you listen to this. It's an absolute barbaric assault. It's just so goddamn good. It just doesn't let up from beginning to end, honestly. And then the fifth song, which is the one that really, it didn't surprise, but it did surprise us at the same time, because when I saw the track list, when they put up the pre-orders for the CD variant on Rising Merch, so if you want some merch of Annotations, link down below to Rising Merch. Rising Merch, definitely pick up something of Annotations. I've got the EP cover shirt here, and I've got the CD on order, which I'm hoping to get signed at some point in the upcoming future. But on the track list that it said on the pre-order, it said the last song, Murder, featured Scotty Hall of Street Soldier. Now, obviously, they've just done a tour with Street Soldier Annotations. I think it was called Sludge Soldier. I think it was that little crew thing that they did. Yeah. Oh my god, like, I'd heard Steve Regan do a guest on, I think it was Bossman, from the new Street Soldier EP, which drops, I believe this drops on the 31st of May, and the Street Soldier EP drops on the 1st of June, if I'm not mistaken, or vice versa. But yeah, his guest spot on Bossman is incredible. Absolutely love that. But Scotty's on Murder, it just adds a new different flavour. I love Scotty's voice and his edginess in his Yorkshire accent, and it just fits so fucking well. It just fits so well with Beatdown and stuff. But that sort of section on there, it puts a smile on my face, and it makes you like just pump a lot and just get you really into it, get you really dwelled into this release. And I think it just makes the release just all that more sweeter. It gives it a bit more variety, if you ask me. But yeah, on top of that, I want to talk about the instrumentation on this. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a head cold. My throat goes really dry. But anyway, but the drum work, absolutely relentless stuff. Really creative drum work, but it really hits hard, and I love the production sound behind it. It sounds pummeling, if you ask me. And the guitar, and I have to say, the guitar tone and the bass tone on this, just combining together, really sounds like the best Annotation of an Autopsy production we have heard so far. I mean, this is just incredible. It's so clear, but it's so beefy, man. Like, oh my god, this has to be one of the beefiest releases you will hear in 2019, guaranteed. Like, this is up there with the likes of Mental Cruelties, Inferus, and what was the name of it? Traitors, new album. It's up there with the likes, but this is easily one of the most, I'd actually say, yeah, this is the most chunkiest sounding release I've heard so far in 2019, and if you haven't heard it when it drops, make sure you do so. I'll update the description with the link of when the full EP goes online and stuff, and all the other stuff down there will be there, so, yeah, and Steve Regan's vocals, I feel like everything on this EP is a combination of every style that he's done over the years, from the brutal pig squealy sort of stuff from the first two releases to the death metal side on Reign of Darkness, but then he's still got that kind of like hardcore edginess to him in the from the Dark Days EP. So it's all culminating. So I really don't think that they pushed entirely aside the Dark Days kind of influence in there. I still feel like it hits hard, because that EP did hit hard. As much as people don't like it, it does still hit hard as much as this EP does, but I feel like the slammier elements just make it that much more heavy. And honestly, like, I think this is definitely one of the top dogs in Annotations discography, and I feel like they are back, and the Sludge City crew are back to bring nothing but sheer utter violence and putridness, and this is just one of the most disgusting things you will hear. I think you need to hear it. This is easily one of the top dog EPs of 2019. It's up there with the likes of Still Booms and Melancholia. I mean, these two EPs are fighting over the top spot of best EP of the year. It might be locked in, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I definitely feel like this is definitely an absolute blaster to listen to. I definitely, every time I listen to it, I just want to just punch people and just get fucking violent. So if you want something that puts you in that mindset, definitely hear Annotations' new EP, World of Sludge. They are back, bringing the heavy once again. And for an overall score though, surprise, surprise, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. Absolutely incredible EP and a return to form. Definitely check out the songs that they've released so far. World of Sludge and Too Weak to Fuck With Me. But if you want, when the EP drops, you need to hear these three other songs. They are just incredible stuff. I absolutely love this EP. So yeah, I'll see you until the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.